Hello everyone. Today I'm making my famous lemon chicken, which I like to make at least once a week. It's very healthy and it's easy to make. So I start with chicken tenders. Now I'm very picky about my chicken tenders. You could use chicken breast, you could even use bone-in chicken, but I like to use chicken tenders. Many people leave this in their chicken tender, but Mrs. Weaver doesn't. This is lemon chicken the Weaver way. So I use a pair of kitchen shears that I put in the dishwasher every time after I use them. And I cut out this little vein and I check to make sure there's no skin left on the chicken. I'm gonna go ahead and do this with one or two more pieces. And then I put it in a shallow 9x13 baking dish. Now on the top of the chicken, you can't see it, but if you turn that chicken over, you could see right where that little chewy part is sticking out. So I like to cut in there right next to it. And then you can see the white right here, and I cut right along there to get that out. Once again, this is not absolutely necessary. It's just the Weaver way. On this, you can also see that there's a little bit of skin left. So I pull this off. And sometimes I cook these up and give them to the dog. A couple times accidentally Mr. Weaver has eaten them. They're not inedible, I just don't like them with the chicken tender. So here's another piece. This is the top of it. You can't see it, but if you turn it over, you can see this white part here that I'm going to remove. So I take my scissors in right next to it. And that opens it up, and then I can see where it falls on the inside, and I'm going to cut right next to that to make sure that I have removed it. So here it is. And then there's a little bit of skin on this. From the white part I can see that, so I grab it with my finger and I pull it right off. I do all of this within my sink, and I keep everything in the bag that I purchased the chicken in. So this will keep all of the chicken juices and all the chicken contaminants all together. Now I'm going to wash my hands really well. I don't touch any of my soaps. I use the other side of my hand. And I use my hand for the knob, and I wash my hands very well. Hey, Mr. Weaver. Why did the chicken cross the road?
To get to the other side? Was I right?
I think so.
Oh.
Now this cloth that I've used to dry them, I'm extra cautious. So I will put this in the sink, no longer on the counter like I typically do with my my kitchen rags. And so now I'm not going to use this one anymore. I'll use that to clean the inside of the sink. Let's move over to the chicken. So I've got chicken in a shallow 9x13 baking dish, and I put it on a cookie sheet just in case it should boil over. Now the chicken will create a lot of water on its own, and sometimes if I fill this too full, it gets really hot at the top and makes me kind of nervous, so I always like to keep it on a sheet. I have lemon, garlic salt, my meat thermometer, parsley, and I'll also be using some Parmesan cheese for brown. I turn my oven on to 325. And so while that's preheating, I also have a large pot on here, and I'm going to turn that on high so that I can make Klusky, which my family loves. And it takes a long time for those pasta noodles to boil. You could use any kind of noodles, rice, a potato, some kind of starch. And I'm going to turn the other pot on here to boil, and I'm going to make peas, just frozen peas boiled in water. So when I plan a dinner, I like to make it 1/3 protein, so chicken, beef, pork, fish, 1/3 vegetable. Tonight I'm going to use peas, and 1/3 starch. And for that I'm going to use Klusky, but you can substitute anything in there you would like. The first thing I will do is juice the lemon. If I don't have real lemons, I just use a lemon juice that you could buy at the store and just squirt it on. But if you have real lemons, they're the preferable method, I would say. It just is much more fresh when you use that. I have a little strainer here. If you don't have a strainer, people just use their hands to catch the seeds. But I make a lot of pottery. I'm using my hands all the time, so there's always cuts in them. And as you know, lemon juice in a fresh cut is not a good thing. And I squeeze the lemon. This way, if there's any seeds, they'll get caught in the strainer and I won't have to try to fish them out of the chicken. Now these lemon rinds are great. After I use lemon, I always put it in my food bucket and it just makes it smell better for a while. We have a food bucket that goes outside just to decompose on its own so that we're not adding it to our trash. So I will use an entire lemon, just the juice. This is a good one. It's very juicy. Now if there's any extras from this baked chicken, it's great in enchiladas and quesadillas because of the lemon flavor in it. I also like to make chicken salad with it. That lemon flavor just adds a little bit extra oomph that makes it delicious. I have a second lemon here. This one I'm going to slice half, just in case anyone wants to squirt a little extra lemon wedge onto their chicken. And then I'm going to remove the seeds and add lemon slices on the top. This just makes it pretty. It adds extra flavor as well. And you can actually eat the whole lemon slice. I'm slicing them paper thin. That one didn't come out too well, but it's great presentation. It adds color, flavor, texture, and guests just really like it. They think it's fancy if it has lemon on it. It's easier to remove the seeds before you cut into them, then you only have to remove them once instead of several times. And the sticker, that's always a good idea. Alright. It's good if you're wearing glasses too, because this lemon just squirted up in my eyes and it didn't get me. These don't need to cover the entire chicken, just as long as you get most parts of it. And I think one or two more should do it. You'll notice that I've got the lemon gripped in my hand, and when I'm using the knife, I'm cutting away. This is getting a little tricky here, so I'm going to create a flat side for the lemon wedge so it can stand on its own, just so that I feel very secure when I'm cutting it. So now I have my lemon arranged on my chicken. I'm going to sprinkle it with just some garlic salt. This is just the cheap garlic salt. Just lightly. I don't like a lot of salt on things. And I'm also going to sprinkle it with Parmesan cheese, which has salt in it. So I don't want to add a whole lot of extra sodium. The Parmesan cheese adds flavor, a little bit of texture, and it browns really nicely on top, so I like that. The parsley is not looking the best over here, but I'm going to pick off some nice leaves because I like green in my dishes. I like different colors when I'm feeding my family, and fresh herbs are a relatively inexpensive way. They're only like $1.50 or so to buy fresh herbs, and they add such a wow factor to such a plain dish. There's not a lot of ingredients in this, so I want to get as much flavor as I possibly can. I bundled up the leaves in my hand, and when I cut them, I try to make as few cuts as possible. That way all the flavor of the herbs don't go down to the cutting board, but they stay within the herb itself. If I were to mince these up and chop them, the cutting board would get green, and that would mean that the flavor is now on the cutting board. It's no longer where I want it to go, which is into my dish. So there is my chicken with lemon juice, a little bit of garlic salt, Parmesan cheese, and parsley. I'm going to cover this with foil. Shiny side out. Okay. I use a digital meat thermometer that Mr. Weaver bought me one year for Christmas.
How romantic.
This is the second one and I really love it. You can use any kind of thermometer though, it doesn't have to be digital, just to check your temperature. And I'm going to set it to 160. Ideally I want the chicken to cook to 170. So if it alerts me at 160, then usually I'm able to get here in time after the annoying beeping is over, so that I can pull it out so I don't overcook it. All right, Mr. Weaver, you're gonna have to walk with me now. Come on. We're gonna transfer this to the oven. Here's the tricky part. So I've got this on. I set it on the side. And in order to get an accurate reading of when this chicken is cooked, I kind of look down in and I try to place the thermometer in a thick part of the chicken. So I go through the foil on the top and I'm checking to make sure that I'm actually in a meaty part of the chicken. And then I close up the foil. And I also use a piece of chicken that's in the center, not on the outside, because the edges will cook faster than the center. So my chicken is currently at 53 degrees, and I'm waiting until it gets to 160, and then I will take it out when it's about 170 degrees. That will mean it's safe to eat. During this time, I have water on to boil to make my noodles and my frozen peas, and dinner will be ready in about 25 minutes. All right, you have a great day. This is a healthy, very easy meal. I can walk away now. Once my water's boiling, I can throw my peas in and my Kluski noodles in, and they love it every time.